The storage room of the Boston Historical Society smelled of old paper and dust. Sarah Mitchell, a curator who knew a lot about 19th century photos, carefully opened a wooden crate that had been sealed since 1953. Inside, wrapped in yellowed tissue paper, were dozens of glass negatives and cabinet cards from old photography studios in Massachusetts. She had spent 3 weeks sorting donations, mostly ordinary family pictures, weddings and children in their best clothes. But when she unwrapped the 23rd photo, she stopped. It showed 2 women in a fancy studio with painted Roman columns and velvet curtains. Both wore the same black mourning dresses with high collars and long sleeves. The older woman, who looked about mid-30s, sat stiffly in a chair, her face calm but tight. Behind her stood a younger woman, maybe 17 or 18, with one hand on the older woman's shoulder. The touch looked more protective than warm. Sarah read the faded writing on the back. Mrs. Katherine O'Brien and daughter Rose, Lowell, Massachusetts, April 1890. Something felt off, not the style or quality. Those were normal for the time. It was in their faces, the tension that showed even through the stiff poses people had to hold back then. She took the photo to her desk and put it under a strong magnifying light. Now she could see small details. The fabric texture, the shadows on their faces, how their hands were placed. Her breath caught. The mother's left sleeve had slipped up a bit, showing her wrist. Even in the old sepia color, dark marks were clear. Bruises that were partly healed, shaped like fingers, had gripped hard. Sarah quickly scanned the photo with her digital scanner, her heart beating faster. In 15 years of working with old pictures, she had learned to spot hidden stories, fake smiles that never reached the eyes, hands placed to cover injuries, portraits taken not just to remember, but to prove something. As the clear scan appeared on her screen, she zoomed in on the daughter's hands. Rose held them against her dark skirt, and in one hand was a folded paper with sharp edges. Official-looking legal documents. This was no ordinary family picture. The matching black dresses pointed to a recent death in the family. The bruises suggested violence. The paper suggested a court case. "What happened to you?" Sarah whispered to the women, frozen in the image. Their eyes looked back across 134 years, showing fear hidden behind dignity. The next morning, Sarah used special software to improve the scan. She changed contrast, sharpened details, and focused on certain parts. The marks on Catherine's wrists became even clearer. They were not from work accidents. These were finger-shaped bruises on both wrists, from someone grabbing with real force. But Rose's face troubled her most. The girl looked calm for the camera, but tiny signs showed tension around her eyes, a tight mouth, and a stiff jaw. Not just sadness, but held back anger. Sarah checked books about 1890s portrait photography in Massachusetts. Studio photos cost a lot, often a full week's pay for working people. Families did not take them without a good reason. Weddings, big events, or to remember the dead. The black dresses meant someone had died recently. But why show bruises and legal papers in the picture? She called Dr. James Patterson, a history professor at Boston University who studied New England in the industrial years. "James, I have something strange," she said, "maybe even criminal." 45 minutes later, he stood at her desk, looking at the improved images. "Bruise," he said right away, pointing to Catherine's wrists. "Defensive injuries, almost certainly. Someone held her hard enough to leave marks that lasted weeks," Sarah agreed. He looked at Rose's hands, and she's holding what looks like official court papers. "See the format. That's Massachusetts state style." "Why photograph legal documents?" he asked quietly. In 1890, photos were starting to be used in court cases for proof of identity, injuries, or character. "This is not a memory picture," he said. "This is evidence." The photo came from Mercer's studio in Lowell. The ledger showed the session on April 12, 1890. They paid $1.50. A lot of money back then. 2 days' wages for a mill worker. Wonder. Someone thought this picture was very important, Patterson said. They looked at the image in silence. 2 women in mourning clothes, one with signs of abuse, one holding court papers, both trying to look composed. We need to know who died, Sarah said, and why they needed this photo as proof. 2 months later, they met at the Massachusetts State Archives. They asked for death records and probate files from Lowell for early 1890. The death certificates came first. Lowell was a hard place then. Factory accidents, diseases, high death rates. Names passed by, babies who lived only days, workers crushed by machines, old people dying in cold rooms. Here, Patterson said, Patrick O'Brien, age 32, February 18, 1890, cause, head injury from fall at Pacific Mills. Sarah read over his shoulder. The report said he fell from a catwalk onto the factory floor, hitting his head on iron parts. Death was instant. The wife, Katherine O'Brien, reported it. So Katherine became a widow in February, and the photo was taken in April 2 months later. Patterson pointed to notes. Witnesses said the man had been drinking. Supervisors reported he often came to work drunk. Alcohol problems, Patterson said. In mill towns back then, that usually meant trouble at home too. Sarah thought of the bruises. You think he hurt her? Very likely, Patterson answered. They asked for probate records next. Patrick's file was thick. The first paper made Sarah's heart race. Investigation into death of Patrick Michael O'Brien, Lowell Police and Middlesex County DA, March 1890. They looked into whether the death was an accident or something worse. Witnesses described Patrick as a violent drunk who beat his wife often and threatened her life. People heard arguments the day he died. Neighbors said Katherine told them she could not take it anymore. One paper said Katherine went to the mill that afternoon looking upset. She was there the day he died, Sarah said softly. They found Katherine's statement to police on March 3rd, 1890. She said, "My husband was not kind. He hurt me many times. That day he drank from morning. I went to the mill because I worried he would lose his job and we would have no food. I found him dead on the floor. I did not push him. I would not, but I will not pretend to miss a man who gave me only pain." Sarah pictured Katherine, 34 years old, facing police, admitting she felt no grief, knowing it could get her charged with murder. Katherine was cleared 4 days before the photo session. But there was more. A petition dated March 15th, 1890, from Michael Donnelly, Patrick's brother-in-law. He asked for emergency custody of Rose, age 17, saying Katherine was not fit to raise a child because of her moral character and the murder suspicion. "This is about money and control," Sarah said. "If Rose went to him, he might get whatever. Small things Patrick left." Katherine's reply came March 22nd. "The petitioner ignores how cruel my husband was. My daughter is nearly grown and wants to stay with me. We survived hard years together. He wants to punish me for living through the cruelty." A judge noted on April 2nd, serious claims need more proof. Hearing set for April 18th, 1890. Sarah and Patterson understood at once. The photo was for the custody hearing. 3 days later, the full court transcript arrived. Rose testified first. She spoke clearly, though upset. The lawyer for Donnelly asked if her mother felt no grief. Rose answered, "My mother felt relief, sir. There is a difference. Relief at a death sounds cold. Relief at a death sounds cold, not when the husband made life painful for years." The judge stopped some questions, but Rose went on. "My father drank and was violent. I saw him hurt my mother all my life. When he died, we both felt relief. Does that make me cold too?" The dyad Sarah admired the 17-year-old's courage. In 1890, a working-class Irish girl speaking so plainly to men in court took real bravery. Rose added, "My uncle wants the little money left, and to punish my mother. I am 17. In 1 year, I am an adult. I choose my mother who protected me, not a man who stayed quiet while his brother hurt us." Catherine's testimony was calm and strong about the bruises on her wrists, the same ones in the photo. She said, "He grabbed me like that many times. These came 3 days before he died. He was angry because I hid money for food instead of giving it for drink. He twisted my wrists until I thought they would break. I have had worse." When asked if she went to the mill to hurt him, she said, "I went because I feared we would starve if he lost work. I found him dead. I did not touch him, but I will not pretend I wanted him back. He made every day frightening. I am sorry he died that way. No one should. But I am not sorry to be free." The judge asked what life she could give Rose if allowed to keep her. Katherine answered, "A life without fear, Your Honor. A life where she can work, save, maybe marry a kind man, where no one hurts her like her father hurt me. That is all I can give, but it is more than before." The transcript noted that Katherine's lawyer showed the photo from April 12 as evidence. He said, "This picture shows the respectability and love between mother and daughter. See their proper clothes, calm faces, and close bond." Now Sarah saw why every detail mattered. The matching dresses showed they followed social rules. The formal setting showed dignity. Rose's hand on the shoulder showed support. The paper in Rose's hand was probably the custody petition itself, held openly to prove they had nothing to hide. The judge ruled, after looking at witnesses and this photo of a respectable mother and devoted daughter, and hearing Rose clearly say she wants to stay, there is no reason to take the child. Petition denied. After the hearing, Katherine's lawyer noted, "Case 1, fees paid. Photo returned to client. She kept it," Sarah said. Even after winning, she kept it. It was proof she fought and protected her daughter. They wanted to know what happened next. Had Katherine and Rose built the life without fear? Later at the Boot Cotton Mills Museum in Lowell, the archivist showed work records. Rose started as a weaver in 1889. At age 16, earned $4.50 a week, worked until June 1892. Katherine had been a spinner since 1882. She took 3 weeks off in March 1890 during the investigation. When she returned in April, her pay dropped to $4.50 a week because of the absence. They punished her even after she was cleared, Patterson said, angrily. Together, they earned about $9.10 a week, barely enough to live. Rose stopped work in January 1893 when she married James Sullivan, a railroad brakeman. A better job. She got out of the mills. Katherine kept working through different mills, always at low pay, never raised much. Reputation from the case probably followed her. In December 1905, at age 49, her right hand was badly hurt in a spinning machine. Job ended, no pay for injury. Blamed on her, no pay for injury. Blamed on her sickle of cities. Showed in 1906 she lived with James and Rose Sullivan. Rose took her in wife, took her in rail. Rose took her in wife. James, railroad worker. Rose, housewife. 3 children, and Katherine, 54, mother-in-law, no job. They had a 6-room rented house. Better than before. James earned about 3 times what Katherine ever made. Rose named her second daughter Katherine, giving the name a new, peaceful start. Katherine died March 4, 1918, age 62, of pneumonia at Rose's home. Rose gave the details for the death certificate. Born Ireland, 1856. Came to America, 1878. Widowed, 1890. Left 1 daughter and 3 grandchildren. No mention of abuse, investigation, or court fight. Just basic facts. Official history hides the hard parts, Patterson said. The photo came from a 1953 donation by the estate of Margaret Cartwright, Rose's youngest daughter, born 1909. Margaret kept it 63 years, then gave it away with the hope someone would see the real story. Sarah traced forward. Margaret had daughters Helen and Ruth, Helen Morrison, now 75, lived in a Boston retirement home. Sarah called and left a message. 3 hours later, Helen phoned. "I know that photo. My grandmother Margaret showed it to me as a child. She said it saved their lives. Come see me. I have stories." 2 days later, in Helen's apartment full of family pictures, she poured tea and talked. "My grandmother said Katherine was the strongest woman she knew. She survived a monster husband and kept her daughter when others tried to take her." Helen listened as Sarah showed the enhanced photo. Tears came. She told, "Demi Patrick beat Katherine often. Rose grew up scared of him. When he died, people thought Katherine pushed him, though she didn't. There was an investigation. Then his brother tried to take Rose. The photo helped win in court. The photographer understood. He posed them carefully. Rose's hand on the shoulder, the dresses proper, the paper visible, to convince the judge. After, Katherine worked in mills 15 more years until she lost her hand. Rose married and cared for her mother. Margaret remembered her grandmother as quiet, one-handed, but always gentle with the kids. Why did Margaret donated? Kyan brought a letter from 1953. Margaret wrote, "I give this photo so it stays safe. It shows my grandmother Katherine and my mother Rose in 1890. After Katherine was suspected of murder, and just before she fought to keep her daughter, this picture saved them. It proved to the judge she was a good mother. I want it kept so. One day someone sees what women went through then and how they fought back. My grandmother was not just a victim, she was a survivor. This photo proves it." Sarah cried. "Your grandmother knew exactly what it meant." Helen nodded. She wanted the truth saved, even if not told openly in 1953. She trusted someone would look closely one day, and you did. 6 months later, the Boston Historical Society opened an exhibit called Survivors: Domestic Violence, and Resistance in Industrial America. The main piece was the 1890 photo, shown with court papers, work records, and Helen's words. It told Katherine's story as part of many women's lives then. Violence common, laws often no help, women using any tool, even a photo, to fight back. On opening night, Helen spoke. Katherine was beaten for years. After her husband died, she was suspected of murder. Then relatives tried to take her daughter. She fought with words, witnesses, and this photo. She kept her daughter, worked until injured, and her daughter cared for her. That is what this picture shows. Visitors looked closely at the bruises, the protective hand, the hidden strength, but Margaret saved it, and now Katherine's courage was honored, not as shame but as bravery. Sometimes the strongest stories take over a century to be heard, but when they are, they change how we see the past. Katherine O'Brien survived. The photograph proved it, and now everyone knew.